What is up, everyone? Welcome to another movie review. Today, we are reviewing the film that just came out this weekend called Sinners, which is Ryan Coogler's new film, which is about two twin brothers who are trying to leave their troubled lives behind. So they return to their hometown to start again, only to discover that an even greater evil is waiting to welcome them back. So, as most people know, this movie, of course, is, well, we'll get into that, but it is technically a vampire film, but there's a lot going on in this movie, so we're gonna talk about it. So, Mike, what are your initial thoughts for Sinners?
Well, first of all, this means evil. I just want to clarify that because I did this. This means evil. Yeah, this is a universal hand sign for evil.
Yeah, you gotta wiggle the fingers. This is something else entirely.
Yeah, not
right
this.
here.
Yeah, there was finger wiggles there. Yeah, man. I expected what I was expecting was something similar to like From Dusk Till Dawn. Ryan Coogler, I think is in my personal opinion one of the best working directors today. I think when he's in his niche, when he's doing his thing, I think he's an excellent director. Michael B. Jordan's a proven talent, so I was very interested to see what this was going to be. And it's the vampire thing is there. It's present in the movie. I would say this is a serviceable vampire film, but it's not the main point of the movie. In fact, the vampire stuff really doesn't start happening until about halfway through the film. There's a lot of character setup. There's a lot of character work. There's a lot of story. I would say this is a slow burn, but unfortunately in today's language and stuff, that typically translates to boring. This movie's not boring. I don't think it's boring in my personal opinion, but I do think it takes a little bit to get the plot set up, and then when things do finally get going with the vampire stuff, it happens fast and quick. One of the things I really appreciated that I think we need more of is a proper understanding of the lore behind the creatures that we're utilizing. This movie knows what vampires are. There's actually like lore to them when it comes to there's rules that they have to abide by, things that they have to do. And so they're very traditional in that sense, which I thought was really cool. Instead of it just being like a hand wavy, whatever, But as with a lot of Ryan Coogler's films, there's a lot of layers to this movie. And I think that there could definitely be a wrong or a very low-hanging, very dismissive distillation of what this movie's about. And I think there's a lot going on here beyond that. And that's what I really appreciated about it. So yeah, I had a good time with it. The music is awesome. The acting is phenomenal. One of the standouts is this one character named Sammy, who's kind of the pseudo-ish main character of the story. This is actually that actor's first movie. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Which is
first
insane.
credit ever, which is insane. He kills it, absolutely nails it. Everybody else is in this movie is great. Haley Steinfeld is awesome, and then Michael B. Jordan just absolutely carries the film. So, and then the other surprise is the one of the vampires. I won't say exactly how, but like this guy is a standout too. He's really good. So, but I really enjoyed it. So that's my long-winded way of saying that I really enjoyed the movie, and I was really surprised by what it had to offer. But yeah, what about you?
Yeah, I was really interested to see how Ryan Coogler was going to go about doing like a vampire film. The thing that I did, kind of what you mentioned, the thing that I appreciated about this movie is that it isn't like just like full-blown like vampire stuff the entire time. Like the first half of this film is very different from the second half of this film.
Yes.
The first half is very much focused on like character development and getting allowing you to kind of understand who these characters are. It kind of builds into like the family drama and a lot of that. The first half of the film is a lot more of like a family drama piece, and then the second half is like full blown like vampire crazy stuff and more like Tarantino-esque style like craziness and stuff. And I really enjoyed kind of that switch that he does in this film, going from that type of film to the second half being a full-blown vampire craziness. And I thought that was really really interesting how he did that, and I appreciated that that he gave us a chance to be able to kind of like see these characters and get to have more of a relatable connection to these characters, and so that when the vampire stuff happens, it makes you actually feel a little bit more for these characters when they're going through it. I thought that was really good. I loved the music that was in this film. There's this scene that involves like a music piece that's one of the like craziest things I've seen on film in a long time. It was absolutely incredible, where like the main character, he kind of like, when he plays music, he kind of like breaks the barrier between like life and death and stuff. And so you see a bunch of like people from different time periods and all sorts of different cultures, and they're all kind of like joining in and playing music while he's playing music. And it was just like such a fantastic like experience to see that happen. Something that I wasn't even really expecting, but it kind of blew my mind a little bit, that whole scene. So
I absolutely agree. That kind of made the film for me. I couldn't stop thinking about that scene.
Yes.
And it's not a knock on the rest of the movie, because the rest of the movie is fantastic. Yeah. And in fact, speaking of that music, there's also another musical sequence in this that is not nearly as impactful as that scene, but it is it's a popular song, and I won't say what it is because I don't want to spoil it, but there's a character doing a dance, and these other characters are singing this song with that character, and it was an unexpectedly awesome moment as well. Yeah, that would have been the highlight of the film if it wasn't for this other scene. And they kind of let you know what's about to happen, but you think it's just going to be like a cool thing. And the way that it's filmed, the way that it builds on itself is so insane. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this in a movie before. I really got to give Ryan Coogler credit for that moment, because I did not expect it, and it is so nuts. And also shout out to Ludwig Göransson, who he works with a lot, because he's in charge of a lot of music on this, and you can see how locked in these two are with the music. So I had to comment on that, dude. I totally agree. That scene was like insane, dude.
It was super super impressive. Something that will definitely stick with me for a long time. And I appreciate kind of the themes of music in this film. I wasn't really expecting that, actually, with this film going into it. I didn't really think that there was going to be that heavy of kind of a music theme kind of woven throughout this film, but it definitely was there throughout, and it was kind of an unexpected surprise with this movie. And I think that kind of ties into more so what the film is trying to convey with the overall message of like appreciation of like cultural heritage and things like that are kind of like some of the themes that are in this film. And I just thought that was like a really cool message and stuff throughout. So
absolutely.
One of the things that also was kind of a standout for me, and this was just kind of like a little bit of a cool thing that Ryan Coogler did, because obviously like there's vampires in this film and everything. There's this one scene where one of the characters is kind of like, he's out in the woods and he's like taking a piss and stuff. And like when he's taking a piss, there's like fireflies that are in the background. And one of the vampire type of creatures that comes from Africa is like a firefly type of creature. And so I thought that was like a really cool little, I don't know if that was intentional or not, but I would like to think that was coming from Ryan Coogler, that was like an intentional nod towards kind of like that African mythology of these like firefly vampire things and stuff. So I thought that was like a really cool little subtle thing that he put in this film as well.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, man. For people that don't know, Ryan Coogler, along with people like Edgar Wright and Denis Villeneuve and some of these bigger directors, but are really well-known directors. They're known for putting a lot of things in the background and very intentional things. And so typically if you think something's an accident or that seems like a weird coincidence, it's typically on purpose. And there's a lot of that in this movie for sure. That scene was really, that was very unexpected too. Yeah. I was like, oh wow. Okay. I see what you're doing here, you know? Yeah, man, there's also kind of an interesting thing here. You know, there's like a character who's kind of like a voodoo woman, and she's kind of the one that figures out what's going on. And I thought that was kind of an interesting way to like introduce that, you know, and explain vampires in like kind of an organic way. Dude, there's just a lot going on in this movie, and everybody in this like kind of brings their A game. There's one guy, he's an older actor. He plays like this drunken like blues player or whatever, and he's hilarious. Every line he delivers is so good. And you know, Haley Steinfeld, like I said, is kind of a standout as well. She plays this like kind of wronged white woman who dated one of the twins, and you assume that it's gonna go one way with her, and it doesn't. And and it's kind of interesting that way. I want to say, without spoiling anything, I just think it's important to address it because I know some people are concerned. In this day and age, there are so many movies we see that play with identity politics that immediately go for the lowest hanging fruit of racism bad, or white men are the root of all evil, or if it wasn't for these racists and stuff like that. There are themes, because they're in the deep South, of racism in this movie. There are themes of how Black people have to operate. You know, one of the characters works in a cotton field, you know, for sharecroppers. That is all in this movie, but it is not the primary theme of the film. It is actually, the backdrop really is, like just I said, music. And legacy and heritage. And it's not just about Black people's heritage and Black people's legacy. They deal with Asian legacy. They even deal with like some without spoiling exactly what it is, they even deal with like like European legacy and that kind of music and stuff like that too. There's some really interesting stuff here. The movie does not go for the lowest hanging fruit. And I really appreciated that about the movie. You know, but it's still fun, it's still interesting, and there's a lot of tension there. I think it's good to remember that this, you know, the context of this film, you know, it's like it takes place in like the 1930s in the Deep South, and so because of that, like you have to deal with the fact of like what that time period was like and stuff, and absolutely.
And so, you know, it's something. It's silly if you get upset about that when that is like literally like part of that history for that time. So
100%.
You know, they deal with like the KKK in this film, and they deal with some of that type of stuff, which was very prevalent in the South during that time. So, you know, there's a lot of those types of themes that they're dealing with here. But but like what Mike was saying, I do appreciate that this film goes a little bit deeper than that, with dealing with like more of like cultural heritage and how that looks, and what happens when you invite people into your culture, and what does that do to kind of like and kind of change the culture and all that type of stuff too. There's a lot of interesting different thematic elements that are at play in this film.
100%, dude. Yeah. And also there's something really to be said. They even address modern day attitudes and modern day approaches to things like racism, but they do it in a very subtle way. They don't like, you know, it doesn't feel like anybody's using modern language in a period film, but they do even kind of address, like, there's some characters in this film that are like, well, guys, why don't we all get along? Why can't we overcome this racism with equality and you know, and stuff. And it's funny because of the way that it plays out. It just feels like complete BS. Yeah. And you can appreciate why it's doing that. There's just a lot of that in this film, and it really doesn't take shots at any one people group. It's taking shots at ideas, which is, to me, the best thing that you can do in film. And once again, I cannot overstate how good the music is in this movie, and how awesome it is, and how it plays into all the themes of the film and what's happening as the movie goes on. The other thing that I will say, because I don't want to forget it, when this movie ends and the credits roll, the movie is not over. A lot of people didn't know this. I know Josiah didn't know this. Fortunately, somebody told me ahead of time, so I knew. But the real ending of the film, the actual real ending of the movie, is in the mid-credits. The credits roll, some stuff is happening while the credits are rolling, and then there's a mid-credit scene, and that is the actual true ending of the film, and it actually makes the film better. If you just end it just like it is, it's a good film, but that ending just adds just like this perfect little like signature, you know, like this little flourish at the end. And then there is a post-credit scene as well. That's just a fun little thing to have at the very end of the movie. But the real true ending is the mid-credit scene of the movie. So please stay to watch that, or you will miss out on a really great scene that is not just fan service, is an actual part of the movie. So
yeah, don't pull a Josiah and leave as soon as the credits start rolling.
Yeah.
I even sat there and I thought for a second, I was like, is there going to be like a mid-credits thing or something in it? And I was like, nah, there's
it's
not in this film. Come on.
Yeah.
What are we dealing with, a Marvel film here? Come on, we're not going to do any of that. So I got up and left, and then I literally went to X, and the first thing I see on X is, hey, there's a really cool mid-credit scene that you guys need to stay for. And I was already like on the road, and I was like, oh shoot. Damn it.
Yeah, I missed out. Yeah, dude, it's funny, man. I mean, it is what it is, but yeah, dude, I love this film. I think it's one of the best movies I've seen this year, and it's probably one of the best movies I've seen. I mean, like, I would put this up there with like things like Nosferatu and Dune and you know, things like that, movies that I loved watching because of not just the subject matter, but also how good it's done, like how well it's filmed. So,
yeah, I was actually going to bring that up because we just got another vampire film very recently with Nosferatu and stuff, and I was curious to see how this kind of stacked for you with that, because I think that they are, obviously they're kind of similar in some ways, obviously with dealing with vampires, but they kind of go about it a little bit differently. I think overall I still like Nosferatu a little bit more. I think Nosferatu kind of played a lot more into the themes of like true good and true evil, and I personally just kind of appreciate that a little bit more as far as like thematic elements go. But I was kind of curious what you thought about kind of these films, and because they have different themes, but which one kind of resonated with you more?
Honestly, like, you know, it's kind of a toss up, to be honest, because one, like I said, is like Nosferatu is a straight up vampire film with, obviously there's other themes going on in the movie as well, but it's a proper gothic horror vampire film. Whereas this movie, yes, is a vampire movie, but like I said, it's a serviceable vampire film. But there's almost two different genres here. One could have played out with a bunch of characters at like a speakeasy doing music and being assaulted by a bunch of crazy people in the middle of the night. The vampire aspect just added something extra to it. So like as a vampire film, I think Nosferatu's stronger from that element. But I don't know, man. I as far as looking at both of them together, I don't know that they're comparable, but they're comparable in quality. I'll say it like that. Both of these films feel like they were created with a lot of love and a lot of intentionality and a lot of a thought and care put into the set design and the cinematography and the acting. They're both expertly acted. But they're very different, and because they're such different time periods, and because one is a pre-established story, Nosferatu is the Dracula tale, whereas Sinners is kind of its own thing. It's hard to compare them, but I kind of almost say that they're almost like equally as good as each other, for what they do, for the story that they're trying to tell. But if I have to go straight out vampire for vampire, Nosferatu walks away with that one, because Nosferatu is a great vampire movie. So.
Yeah. Either way, it's really nice to be able to kind of live in a time where we actually get a lot of really good vampire content. And it would be nice to see that happen with werewolf stuff, because
need it.
werewolf stuff is lacking. So
Yes,
step it up,
absolutely.
guys. Come on. Although we know that what's his face is going to be doing a werewolf film.
Oh, Robert Eggers, yeah.
Robert Eggers is going to be doing one fairly soon. I think that's his next film, actually.
It is.
So that's going to be good. I'm just calling it right now. That's going to be awesome, no matter what he does. So, but yeah. With that being said, there's a lot we could talk about with Sinners. Obviously, the whole dichotomy of the brothers, I think, is a really interesting thing in this film as well. And one kind of being more of like the dark side, and then the one being more of like the light side, and kind of like how that plays out between the two brothers, I thought was a really interesting kind of thematic element in this film as well. There's a lot going on in this movie, but we definitely want to know in the comments below what you think about this movie, kind of where you land on it. What are your thoughts about the movie? So with all that being said, let us know in the comments below. Hope you guys enjoyed this review, and we will catch you all in another review very soon.